the meeting at agenda item 7.5 on page 115 of your agenda. The report on the dangerous and sanitary buildings policy. We will have a report from Jane Barnett, policy analyst, coming up. Thank you, Jane.
Hey, good afternoon. I've got Rob Whitman alongside me because he's been working on the review and can help me answer any questions that you may have on the policy. So just as a background, under the Building Act, Council's required to have a policy on dangerous and unsanitary buildings. And since our current earthquake-prone building and unsanitary policy, there's been a few legislative changes. So we're needing to review the policy and incorporate those changes. The first big change is that anything to do with earthquake-prone buildings is no longer required because there's been new provisions under the Building Act, so we're needing to remove those from our policy. And the second change is that Council's now required to, in their policy, mention and consider affected buildings, and these are buildings that, due to their proximity to a classified dangerous or unsanitary building, they might pose a risk to building users or people passing by. So basically, with this policy review, we were driven by the legislation. We needed to update it to make sure we were consistent with the legislation. So we've also kind of made a few changes just to clarify the wording and try to make things as transparent as possible. So we did that, and then we consulted, as required by the legislation, over September, and we received 4 submissions, and the issues raised by those submissions are identified in Chapter 2, and we've put together recommendations for responding to those, and then we've incorporated our recommended responses into a kind of final proposed policy that we're seeking adoption from the committee on. So if you have any questions for us.
Great, thank you, Jane. Councillors, questions? Councillor Arbery.
Do you have an approximate feel for how much it would cost to have a proactive approach to looking for these dangerous or unsanitary buildings? I saw that it was recommended by MB that isn't the approach that's taken, but just wondering what the cost difference might be.
Sorry, I'm unable to answer that. I mean, when we kind of looked at it, we remember talking with Rob that we'd need to have more staffing resources out there doing, as their kind of job. So, yeah, I'm not sure on the exact figures of that. Yes.
Councillor Clout.
Thank you. Just wanting to check whether properties that have got chronic hoarders, who are residents who just pile stuff up all outside and even onto the curb, and there's one particular property which I think a lot of us are aware of, can that be included in this sort of unsanitary building policy, or is that a different bylaw or policy?
Yeah, I mean, Rob might be best placed. My understanding is because the definition of a dangerous and unsanitary building is quite clearly specified under the Act, and unless there's sort of a danger to to human health, then that would be classified as unsanitary. So, Rob, have you got any?
Probably it's more appropriate with bylaws and our health team under the Health Act rather than the Building Act.
Thank you. Councillors Powell and then Hollis. Thank you.
Hi, Rob. Thank you. Thank you both. How widely are we afflicted by this? And how many properties are we talking about here that you would consider to be categorised as safe, unsafe, and unsanitary?
So currently, we have no buildings in the city that are classified as unsanitary and dangerous.
Okay,
yep.
That's good.
Great minds think alike, gentlemen. Any other questions, councillors? Fantastic. Could I please have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Mover, Councillor Hollis. Seconder, Councillor Salisbury. Councillor Hollis, would you like to speak to the motion? Great. Salisbury, would you Councillor, no, she does not. That's great. Any further speakers? Well, well, well. I'll now put this to motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? Any abstentions? I declare this motion carried by unanimous vote. Thank you very much. We will now adjourn. I can't quite see the time now, but we will be back here, please, at 1:55, ready to start at 2 o'clock with the hearings. Thank you.